Today, I want to talk to you about waiting. Waiting. And if you're here, if you're watching online, man, we are so glad that you're here today. Next week, we're going to be talking about wisdom because I think a lot of us, when we start the new year off, like, man, I need more wisdom. And so I'm going to give you a couple of attributes of wisdom, a couple of things you got to have in your life if you're going to be wise. But today, as we talk about waiting, here's what I know about you and me. None of us are good at waiting. None of us are good at waiting. We have a society that doesn't like waiting. We had crock pots that are great, right? But they don't cook fast enough, so we have Instapots instead, right? To take the place of crock pots, because that's not working faster. I need this faster, right? And so there's just so many times that we're not good at waiting, and we become like the little kid when we're waiting on the Lord, right? You start on a road trip with some of your children, and you've left the driveway for 10 minutes, and your kid is going, are we there yet? When are we going to get there, right? And you're like, we're going all the way to Florida, kid, buckle up, right? Shut up, you've got DVDs to watch. We just had to listen to the radio, right? Like, shut your mouth right now. But they're still like, are we there yet? Are we there yet? And here's the truth. We start acting like that child when we're waiting on the Lord to do something in our life. We do. And we start asking when. When am I going to meet that man, that woman? Right? And we want to Instapot it instead of letting God crockpot it. And some of us, we're like, okay, you've been waiting a while and you're in your 30s and you're like, well, they ain't that ugly, right? And if you're coming to a decision on to date him or be engaged with him because he ain't that ugly, you need to wait, right? If men, you're going, well, she ain't that crazy, listen to me. Oh, she's that crazy. It's coming. Just wait till the curtains get pulled back like the Wizard of Oz. You know, like it's coming back. When am I going to have that child? You know, when am I going to get that new job? When's this going to happen? When am I going to receive my healing? When am I going to receive my miracle? When is my prayer request going to get answered? And so today we're going to talk about waiting because a lot of our life will be spent waiting. And so I want to talk to you today about umbrellas and hot pockets. Umbrellas and hot pockets. And as we start off today, I just want to be really real and raw today as we talk about waiting. And it's our first point. I want us to understand waiting is hard. Right? I don't want to, sometimes pastors get up here and spiritualize things. And you're like, yeah, okay, but just be real. Just be honest. Waiting's hard. I hate waiting. I am the most patient person when I don't have to be patient. Right? But when I have to be patient, I am impatient out the wazoo. And waiting is hard. And here's why, because you have no idea when your waiting's going to be over. And when you're not in control, and when it's not up to you, man, that's a hard place to be. And I don't have to tell the people that are waiting on the Lord today this, but we love and we like, oh yeah, I want patience until you're waiting. Because can I tell you why you're waiting is when patience is developed. And we're like, oh yeah, we talked about last week, love is patient, love is kind. How are you being patient while you are waiting? Because if you're like your pastor, you're not doing really great at it. I am a horrible waiter. I'm a horrible person being patient when I need patience. And everybody wants patience, but nobody wants to let patience develop. And it says this in Psalms 27:14. It says, wait for the Lord. Like, wait for the Lord. Be strong and let your heart take courage. Can I tell you, sometimes the most courageous thing is to decide to wait. Not to act, not to just rush out and try to fix it, but to wait. Mom and dad, sometimes it's not about you fixing your kid, it's about you waiting for the Lord to fix your kid. And that takes courage. That takes courage. Because you're wanting to put a Band-Aid where God's wanting to give a solution. And to you, I would say, wait for the Lord. Man, be strong and let your heart take courage. Wait for the Lord. And here's what's tough for me. We say God's ways are perfect, right? God's timing is perfect until it's not our ways and it's not our time. And what I have realized about me, and probably a lot of you are there, man, I don't struggle with his ways because I know your ways are higher than my ways. Your thoughts are higher than my thoughts. Just about anybody's thoughts are higher than my thoughts, right? So, that's not hard to do. The bar's really low on that, right? But, I struggle with this timing. It's not so much his way, but God, why can't you do this faster? Because this is a good thing. What I'm waiting on is a great thing. And man, but can we get there faster, God, faster, right? And here's what I would tell you. Man, here's the reality of waiting. And the tough thing of waiting is just because you wait doesn't guarantee you're going to get what you wait for. Some of you are getting ready to find a new church because you're like, I don't like this message right now, right? That's the hard part of waiting. The reality of waiting is this: just because you wait doesn't mean you get what you are waiting for. There's not a lot of messages and there's not a lot of sermons about that. But what happens when you wait and you don't get what you've been waiting on? What do you do then? Because here's the simple truth. God didn't offer you an easy life. He just called you to be faithful in the life he's leading you to. He didn't say that if you follow me, it's going to be easy. He just said in the midst of it being hard, whether it's easy or whether it's hard, I will be with you. All right? Whether it's good or whether it's bad, I will be with you. Today I've got a flashlight and I've got an umbrella up here. And there's something that a flashlight and an umbrella have in common with God. And simply this: just because I turn this flashlight on, there we go. Just because I turn this flashlight on, the darkness doesn't go away. Right? If I'm using this at nighttime, it doesn't mean that all of a sudden night has become day because Justin has a really powerful flashlight that has 5,000 lumens. No, it doesn't mean anything. It's dark. It just allows me to be able to take my step and to be able to see where I need to go while it's still dark. And can I tell you, this is what the Word of God says. It says, your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. Psalms 27:1 says, the Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Whom shall I be afraid? Hear me. If life is dark and hope is dark right now, his light, his word is a light unto my feet and a light unto my path, right? It's not that he's going to make it just all go away, but in the middle of you feeling like you've got no hope and you're in the dark, you have hope and you have dark, because in that moment, in that time, his word's still leading you. His presence is still guiding you, because you're called not to lean on your own understanding, but in all your ways, especially when it's dark, you better start leaning and acknowledging him, because that's the moment his word starts making your path straight when you don't know where to go. And today, if life's hard, hear me, he's still in the dark with you. He's still guiding you in the dark. Some of us, it's like, man, you feel like life is just storming and raining, and some of you are like, don't do it, but I did it. And life, can I tell you, there are storms in life you're not going to understand. When's it going to stop raining? When's it going to stop raining? When's it going to stop raining? You didn't ask for this. See, I can understand when problems arise that I've caused. When storms arise that I'm at fault with it, but what about when you've done nothing wrong and you've done everything right? And you're waiting. God, when's this season going to be over? When's this season going to be done? And he doesn't say, hey, you know what? I'm just going to make it stop raining. I'm just going to make this storm pass, and you're not going to have any problems. What does an umbrella do in the middle of the storm? It gives you shelter, right? What does it do? It allows you to be able to function while it's raining all around you. While it's raining and storming, you can still get from point A to point B. It doesn't make the storm go away. It doesn't make it stop thundering. It just allows you to walk and to go where you need to go while it's storming and why it's thundering. And Psalms 46, verse 1 through 3 says, God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore, we will not fear, though the earth gives way, though the mountains be moved into the heart of the sea, though its waters roar and foam, though the mountains tremble at its swelling. Can I tell you, in the midst of your storm, He's still sheltering you so you can still get from point A to point B. When your kids are difficult, He still gives you the ability to be a great parent. When finances are narrow, man, He's still with you, sheltering you and guiding you so you can keep your head above water. When you're still waiting, He is sheltering you from a storm. So He is a very present help in time of need. He is. He's a very present help in time of need. So if you're in need, if you're waiting, today it's not that you're going to get everything that you want. Today I'm not going to tell you that the darkness is going to become light and the storms are just going to clear away and it's going to be sunshine and like a crazy cracked out Disney movie where birds are talking to you and squirrels are. Like, that's weird. Right? No, that's not what I'm telling you. But what I am telling you, He's with you in the midst of the storm to be your shelter and to be your refuge. Because here's what I want you to understand. For those of us that are waiting, greater things come from waiting, not rushing. Greater things come from waiting, not rushing. And this is where I have to do a lot of work. Right? The better we get at waiting, the less regret we have from rushing. The better we get at waiting, the result is this: the less regret we have from rushing. When I was in college, I had my first ever Hot Pocket. How many of you have had a Hot Pocket? Come on. Yeah. They're fantastic, so you're not going to get any pushback from me. But growing up, I grew up in a house of Totino's pizza. That's like you put it, if you know what you're doing, you put it directly on the rack. Like if you're putting on a cookie sheet, get out of here. Let's educate yourselves. But I was in college as my sophomore year. I remember this moment like it is etched. There are certain moments that get etched in your mind. This is one of those moments. And I remember microwaving that Hot Pocket. I am starving. It's a pepperoni Hot Pocket. And when you pull a Totino's out of the oven, you can feel the heat radiating off of that bad boy, right? When you pull a Totino's Hot Pocket, it is in a sleeve that helps it cook, and that sleeve insulates it a bit. And so I let it sit there for like 5 seconds, and I took the most aggressive bite of my entire life in that moment. Because I'm a starving college student, right? And I just went in, and it was like my mouth froze. I couldn't spit it out. It's like I didn't know what was happening. It's like a cartoon, like when the cat's tail's on fire and it's just sitting there trying to go, what's happening, what's happening, what's happening? It burnt my tongue. It burnt the roof of my mouth. It burnt my gums between my teeth. I mean, it was horrible. And here was the problem, right? Here's the real problem, is I had a speech presentation the next day. And I was talking with a lisp. And I was a big enough problem maker. I was on disciplinary probation 6 out of 8 semesters in Bible college. I'll tell you when. I'll tell you why later. That's not important. But I was absolutely a ridiculous person. And so when I got up, my teacher did not believe me that I had burnt my mouth. And they're like, Justin, stop it. I'm like, I cannot stop this. I burnt my mouth on a pizza pocket. On a Hot Pocket. But I want to talk to you about the Gospel of John, right? Like, of Dawn, no, of Dawn. I got a D because I couldn't stop, right? Here's what I learned. Here's what I learned. You'll never regret waiting, but you will always regret failing to. And some of us, we need a Hot Pocket theology when it comes to our life. Right? When it comes to your life and when it comes to the timing of the Lord, some of you have no patience. And as a result, you're getting burned. There's harm happening. And you will never regret waiting on the Lord, but you will regret failing to. I did some antonyms for waiting, and here are some of the words that popped up: rushing, hurried, to be hasty, to be controlling, and impatient. Right? The Bible says haste makes mistakes. And some of us, like, we like being in control. But can I tell you, when Jesus says, hey, come follow me, he's saying this: you're not in the driver's seat, I am now. You're not in control any longer, I am. And these are attributes and these are words I don't want to be described as a person that is rushing, that is hurried, that is hasty, that is controlling, and especially one that is impatient. But hear me, if you're not staying and you're not waiting on the Lord, the alternative to not waiting on the Lord is this. And you're being impatient. And you're being hasty. Why? Because I don't want to wait. It's not fair that I have to wait. And they've already got their miracle. And who cares what God is doing in somebody else's life? What is God wanting to do in yours this morning? Like, what is God? Your competition is not other people. Your job is to focus on what is the Lord wanting to do in you. And better to wait longer than you planned and wanted to for the right thing than having to clean up and recover from rushing into the wrong thing. For you that are single, hear this point. Better to wait longer than you planned and wanted to for the right thing than having to clean up and recover from rushing into the wrong thing. Whew. That's making me get weak in my knees. It's so good. Some of you, man, your life's just clean up on aisle 3, clean up on aisle 3, clean up on aisle 3. I did it again, I did it again, I did it again, right? And you never learn. Like, I don't ever bite into a Hot Pocket ever again. I learned my lesson. And some of us, man, we got to learn to not rush, but to wait patiently on the Lord. So be courageous. Take strength, my heart, and wait on the Lord. Psalms 130 says this: I wait for the Lord. My soul waits, and in his word I hope. Not in my ability, but in his word I hope. My soul waits for the Lord more than watchmen for the morning. More than watchmen for the morning. And most scholars believe that the idea of watchmen is night guards who anxiously are looking for the break of day so they may be relieved from duty. Right? They've been watching all night, trying to keep people safe, trying to see enemies, trying to sneak in. And so when the psalmist is saying this, I wait for the Lord, and in his word I hope. My soul waits for the Lord more than watchmen for the morning. Like, more than that person that is weary, that is where I'm at. And some of you, that registers with you today. Man, I'm tired. I'm worn out. I've been waiting so long, and I don't know how much longer I can keep it. And the psalmist is saying this: I get it. I know it, and my soul waits for the Lord more than those who have been staying up all night waiting for the break of day. That's how my heart is waiting on the Lord. So while I'm waiting, I'm not going to put my hope in a person being my answer. I'm not going to put my hope in the next counseling session. I'm not going to put my hope in the next paycheck. I'm not going to put my hope in anything else. I will put my hope in the word of the Lord. Because understand this, the quality of your journey is not just if you wait, but how you wait. Man, the quality of your life, the quality of the journey, it's not just about if you wait, but how are you waiting? You that are watching at home, how are you waiting today? I love what Joyce Meyer said. She said, patience is not simply the ability to wait, it's how we behave while we are waiting. Woo! Right? How do you behave while you are waiting? A few months ago, I was on a trip. I was at the airport. I was in Dallas Airport. Got there really early in the morning. Didn't have a time to do or grab breakfast. So I went to Chick-fil-A for breakfast, right? God's chicken. Amen. Go there. I ordered the chicken biscuit with the hash browns and coffee. This is before I started eating well this year. Called January. And so I ordered my chicken biscuit, my hash browns, and my coffee, and I will never forget, I'm number 44, Bosworth, right? So I'm number 44, the Bos, I got this down. And the reason I don't forget number 44 is because of number 43. The guy before me ordered this, and I mean, hear me, they're slammed. Like you've been to an airport where there's Chick-fil-A, there is a line all the time at Chick-fil-A. Like you can never go to Chick-fil-A where there's not a line. But they do a really good job, and they're like, my pleasure, sir, we'll get that right out to you. I'm like, sweet. And number 43, I don't know what was going on in number 43's head. We're just gonna call him 43. I don't know what was happening, but the brother was struggling. And he kept going up to the counter like, hey, do you have my order ready? It's number 43, right? And they're like, no, sir, we'll get to it as soon as we can. Literally 5 seconds later, hey, do you have number 43 ready yet? Because 43 is ready to eat his chicken biscuit, right? I'm just checking. No, sir, we'll get that out to you. And like in between, he started pacing, right? And you've seen people like this. They're just like, I'm like, brother, do you need to go to the bathroom? I can like pick your meal up. I mean, he's pacing, and he's getting so irate that he starts talking to people. And you've seen people do this. Can you believe this? Can you believe this? We're having to wait for like they should do better. You know, like I can't believe Chick-fil-A is known for better customer service with this. And I'm like, bro, there is a line forever. And it gets to the point, he's calling up to the counter 5 times that he goes to the point where he goes, 43 is no longer here. 43 is leaving the building. And he storms off. 15 seconds later, 43's number comes up. It is a Chick-fil-A biscuit. It is hash browns, and it's a coffee. And since I am number 44, number 44 got 44's order and 43's order, right? Hashtag bless life. I got a bless life license plate on my car after that. Why did he miss out? He missed out because he was getting grumpy. Right? Nobody took his chicken biscuit. Well, I did, but nobody took it from him. Hey, 43 left the building. That one's mine. Whoop, you know, like, I had to eat it, right? I had to be a glutton because that's being a good steward in that moment. So, you know. He sacrificed the biscuit because of his impatience. And hear me, don't sacrifice the biscuit. Don't sacrifice what God's wanting to do in your life because you're getting grumpy while you're waiting. But here's the encouragement to you today. Here's the challenge to you today. Let the wait change you. Let the wait change you. While you're waiting, don't be the same person. Because here's the simple truth. You're going to spend a lot of your time waiting. And either you learn to trust God while you're waiting, or the alternative is, I'm not going to trust God while I'm waiting. And if I trust God, then all of a sudden, God gets to do a work on the fruit of the Spirit in my life. And man, you want to see love when it's powerful? Keep loving while you're waiting. You want to see patience when it's, man, powerful? Practice patience while you're waiting. Stay joyful while you're waiting, right? Have that long suffering, have that self-control, have that meekness, have that gentleness, right? That you're not biting everybody's head off because you're waiting for something, but let the wait change you. And when you get your eyes focused on Him and you start allowing the wait change you, you can start living your life like the Word tells us to in Psalms 103, where it says, I will bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me, bless His holy name. I may not see what I want to see yet, but in the midst of waiting, I'm going to praise my way through it. I'm going to bless God when the mountain's in my way or when I'm on top of the mountain, and I'm going to glorify the Lord. Psalms 118 says, give thanks to the Lord, for He is good. His love endures forever. Later in verse 24, the psalmist says, this is the day the Lord has made. He's not surprised that you're waiting. He's not surprised that you're frustrated. He's not surprised that you're heartbroken. He's not surprised that you're discouraged. He's not surprised that you're tired. But the psalmist says, this is a day He made. He knew about it. He foremade it. He knew I would be here. So I'm going to bless the Lord with all that is within me. Bless His holy name. I'm going to enter His gates with thanksgiving in my heart. I will enter His courts with praise because I'm going to make the best of this day, and I'm going to let the wait change me. I'm not going to get cranky. I'm not going to get depressed. I'm not going to get discouraged, because here's the thing about the whole Chick-fil-A thing. We'll go back to this. Just because you couldn't see your order coming up didn't mean that the workers weren't working. Just because you can't see the answer to what you're waiting for doesn't mean that the Lord's not working. He's still working. So Psalms 27, take courage, your heart. Take courage, my heart. Take courage and wait for the Lord. I love what Charles Spurgeon said. He said, the Lord Jehovah makes us wait. So let us do so with our whole hearts, for blessed are all they that wait for him. He is worth waiting for. I love that. The waiting itself is beneficial to us. It tries faith, exercises patience, trains submission, and endears the blessing when it comes. The Lord's people have always been a waiting people. So let me leave you with our last point. It's simply this: when God is your rock, salvation, fortress, and refuge, then you can trust him at all times with an unshakable hope. So wait quietly before the Lord. Right? When God is your rock, salvation, fortress, and refuge, then you can trust him at all times. Not just the easy times, not just the hard times, but when there's just, man, I don't see anything. You can trust him at all times with an unshakable hope. So wait quietly before the Lord. Psalm 62, verse 5 through 8 says, let all that I am wait quietly before God, for my hope is in him. He alone is my rock and my salvation, my fortress where I will not be shaken. My victory and honor come from God alone. He is my refuge, a rock where no enemy can reach me. O my people, trust in him at all times and pour out your heart to him, for God is our refuge. When this verse becomes a reality, it lets you live out verse 5, that you can wait quietly before the Lord because my hope is in him. My hope's not in me being smart enough. My hope's not in me being talented enough. My hope's not in me being rich enough. That's a great hope. My hope's not in my marriage being enough, and my hope's not in me working hard enough, but my hope is in something way bigger and way more capable of handling my life. My hope is in him, right? A few years ago, we went to Disney World. It's long years ago, and we went to Animal Kingdom, and they had a new ride called the Flight of the Avatar, and it's a great ride. It's brand new, and so we get there before everything happens, before they've even dropped the ropes, and we're waiting. They drop the ropes, and we run, and they're like, "No running." I'm like, "Suck it," right? Like we're running, and so we're running. We're like, boom, we get to line. And it's like a 30-minute wait, which is not that long of a line to wait. And we wait 30 minutes for a 5-minute ride. Unbelievable ride, right? So we go around, do all the other things, all the other rides that are there. And about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we're kind of done. We're going to go back to the hotel. And we walk by Flight of the Avatar ride again. And Chloe goes, "Dad, I think I want to ride that again." And I'm like, "Okay, let's look at the time." I look at the time. It's an hour and a half wait. And I'm like, "Chloe, are you sure you want to wait an hour and a half for 5 minutes?" And she's like, "Yeah." I go, "I'm your guy. Let's do this," right? And so Casey and Charlie go on. I'm like, "We'll meet you guys at the hotel. We're going to wait." So we get in line. We wait. Not a problem. We're having fun. But about 50 minutes into the wait for this ride, the line stops moving. Like we sat still for 50 minutes. Because I'm that guy that's like, "Okay, it's been longer than an hour and a half. Disney, you're a liar," right? Like, I'm like, let's see how long this really takes. I start a stopwatch, right? I'm like, okay. And we sat there 15 minutes and it didn't move. Then it starts moving. But by the time we finally got on the ride, it was 2.5 hours. We get on this ride. We ride literally right when the ride's done. Chloe's much smaller. Chloe flings herself back, rips her glasses off, throws her hands up in the air, and goes, "Totally worth it," right? Like all the pain, all the 2.5 hours waits, all the delay, all because that person threw open a ride and they had to clean it up for 50 minutes. Totally worth it. And hear me, today, if you will wait on the Lord, man, it may not work out the way you thought. It may not be in your timeline, but you will come to a place where you say, "Man, it is totally worth it," because he can do exceedingly and abundantly above what I ever asked, what I ever thought, what I ever imagined in my wildest dreams. Can I tell you, I thought we would be in another building as your pastor, and the building got sold underneath us, and I was like, those dirty jerks. Like, I can't believe they sold that building from underneath us. Can I tell you, totally worth it. Look at the way God works, what he does. It's always better than your way. It's always better than your timing. I think Travis and Ashley would tell you today, if they were here, man, totally worth waiting on the Lord because he's faithful. He's faithful. It may not be fair, but he's faithful. You may be in a valley, but he's faithful. And if you will wait on the Lord, you're going to have that totally worth it moment. Don't rush ahead. Don't get ahead. Some of you say, but Justin, I'm tired and I'm worn out. I'm done with this. Isaiah 40 says this, have you not known and have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. He does not faint or grow weary. You may be tired, but he's not. His understanding is unsearchable, and he gives power to the faint and to him who has no might. No, man, I got nothing left to give. He increases strength. Even youth shall faint and be weary, and young men shall fall exhausted. But they who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. And this morning, if that's you, that's okay. But understand, your strength comes from him. And he's got plenty to give. Can we bow our heads today? Lord, we come before you today. And Lord, I just stop and I just pause. Because there's a lot of us that we're here and we're waiting. And Lord, even though there's been a lot of laughter and there's been a lot of fun times in this moment, Lord, waiting's hard. Waiting becomes discouraging. It drains us. Lord, I pray for that person that's here today. They're waiting for their marriage to get better. Lord, they're waiting for that answer to prayer. God, they're in a season of waiting. And Lord, they're tired and they're weary and they're worn out. Lord, I pray today that they would know that you see them. In fact, today, here's what we're going to do. We're going to stop just for a second. If you're here and you say, Justin, I'm in a waiting season right now, would you just raise your hand? Yeah. Just say, Justin, I'm in a waiting season. Yeah. Say, Justin, that's me. Man, there's hands up all over this place. I'm in a waiting season. God, you see every hand. You see every person. And you don't miss the details of our life. You see exactly what we're waiting on. And Lord, our desire is to see greater things happening in our life. And the only way that happens is for us to be patient and wait on the Lord. Not to rush, not to get ahead, because Lord, that always leads to regret. Not to try to control the outcome, because Lord, it's so much less than what you have in mind. But it's to wait. And I pray for these that have raised their hand. Lord, my life wasn't supposed to look like this. It was supposed to look like that. Lord, if we're not careful, we start comparing our timeline against what you've done to other people and what you've done for other people and in their family and in their finances and in their relationships. And we start getting this, it's not fair mentality. But Lord, I pray today, in the midst of that storm, in the midst of it feeling like hope is dark, that we would realize you're there with us. And you're still lighting our path. And you're still giving us shelter in the storm, so let us wait on you. Because Lord, our hope has to be in you and in your word. Because the simple truth is you know what's best for us. And so, Lord, I pray that we would understand how we wait today, it matters. And let us be changed in the midst of waiting. Let us become more like you and less like ourselves. You must increase and I must decrease. So that, Lord, the waiting, there's growing while the waiting's occurring. Lord, I pray, move and work in our lives. It's in Jesus' name I pray.